Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened, as I said it would. People will be... Oh, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show, and as promised, we've got another live stream dropping for you here. But listen, I'm not going to do much talking in this one. I'm going to let the everyone's favourite Italian, the only real Andrea, take over the reins. We're going to be looking at the current state of the squad. So I'm just going to shut up, apart from saying, please like the video, subscribe. Hopefully we're closer to 30k. We're not far away now. Get your comments in, hit the notification bell. We will be in the live chat as well, so make sure you check that out, folks, and get involved. But Andrea, over to you, my man.
Okay, lads. Basically, what we are trying to do here is try to take a first peek, first look at the 2024-2025 Leeds United squad. What I've done is create a spreadsheet on Excel, basically like they do on clubs when you're hearing about the list about players targeted. They usually do an Excel with every date and stats in the specific spreadsheet, So what I've done is basically list every player that is under contract for next season, the players out of contract, signing for new clubs, and the players who were on loan, and try to see where are the position that what are the position most covered, and what are the position, of course, where we need to bring in players, Especially looking at the way there may even be positions where we are covered, where we are like 3 or 4 players, but they are too similar. So you need to bring in a different player. So right now, what we need to see is the positions, the age of the players too. What was the role basically in last season, the season that has just finished, and help by Capology and Transfermarkt. We tried also, of course, these values are they give you a pick, but for example, let's say. I'm going to say it right now, Transfermarkt values are Chigwe at 18 million, for example. Of course, we know it's higher. But, usually on other players, they give you a pick about the real value of the player. In such a case, we might disagree, of course, but we're gonna say it when we go to every player. So we just want to take a first pick about next season. That's basically what we're going to do, player by player. And, we're going to give our consideration about the current state of the squad and what we need based on a detailed analysis about the every department, goalkeepers, defenders, centre-back, midfielders and strikers and forwards, of course. So, yeah, I think I'm ready to start. If you want Joe to share it, let's go. We are here, as they say. Yeah. So, of course, we're going to start with the goalkeepers. There's 3 goalkeepers under contract. The green one, as you see, Melia, the players that I've highlighted in green are the players that were starters. As you can see also here, starter. And in last season, the starting 11, So the 3 goalkeepers under contract are currently Melia, 24 years of age. He should be highlighted. Darlow and Clayson. These are the 3 GKs. So basically, I think the main discussion, Darlow, I think, 33, backup, his contract, of course. We're going to go to the contract, this is important too. Melia is at Leeds since 2019, 24 years of age, and his contract expires in 2026. Darlow has signed 2023, 33 years of age, backup, I think is good as a backup. And as you can see from it, I think from what the Capology Saris tells us, I think he's signed to be the number 1, Then he was resigned to be the backup, but at 33 years of age, I think he should stay as the backup,
Wage.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it seems that they have the same wage, apparently, according to Capology, of course. Clayson, the 3rd choice, and Clayson, his contract is the one that is expiring soon because he's out of contract next summer. Clayson. Let's not forget that he's had 3 appearances this season, but before, of course, before the 2023-2024 season, he barely played for Leeds. I think he had an appearance just at Wolverhampton, in the season when we signed March, that one. So this will be 2021, 2022, 2020, He's been 4 seasons at least, so he with only 3 ups and 1 up on another season. I think it needs either a loan or a permanent move abroad for me. I think, lads, the first thing that I would like to ask you, of course, is looking at Melia, of course, 49 appearances, 21 clean sheet. His value right now, according to Transfermarkt, is 18 million. Like I said, he's been at Leeds since 2019, 24 years of age. I think the trajectory of Melia, has had ups and downs because he was on the up when we arrived in the first season in the Premier League. I think he had a very good season. There was also rumors about potential call-up by France. And let's remember that season was a Euro season, European Championship season, there was the Euros that Italy eventually won. I was going to say that, but but basically after that season, the next 2, I think he had a drop-off in terms of performances. And this season he had some good performances. He was on the rise in terms of goalkeeping, but he's still a goalkeeper with 2 weaknesses. Distribution for me, and is out of goal mouth play, when he needs to come out for crosses and long ball. So right now, considering the age, 24, he's been at Leeds since 2019 for his good sake. And for Leeds, I think it's time for me to get a new GK. That's my opinion. I don't know what you're thinking about, considering that I don't think that right now Melia can be better than his current level in terms of performances for me, because his peak was when he was in the first season in the Premier League. I think he had some downs. Then his value has risen this season, but I don't think he will rise again to the tops that he had in the first season in the Premier League, lads. I don't know what you think about it, but considering the current situation of the GKs, what's your view about those 3?
I think for me, Andrea, the only one realistically that probably stays, I think, if they do look to sell Melia, but there's no guarantees they will, because who's going to pay him? One thing I will say is definitely not worth 18 million. I don't think you get 18 million for Melia. Absolutely. I think you get between 5 and 10, if I'm honest. But yeah, look, if a club comes in to acquire him, I'd be up for selling him. And look, I think he will go on and have a great career, but I think he needs a clean break. That would be my opinion. Yeah, need a new goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I agree,
what do you think, Lockie?
Yeah. You got. I think I don't usually do this, but looking at it from kind of an ownership perspective or a recruitment perspective. So he's got 2 years left on his contract. I think the argument is: do you think if you sell him now, you get higher value than you can in the future, right? Say we go up at the end of this season and he's the starter for this season, but then he's got 1 year left in his contract. Do you think if he has a good season as well, his stock will rise again? Do you think that's when he will then maybe demand a move because there's more options higher up there, as opposed to now that maybe he could go to maybe the lower end of France and build on that? So it's one where it could be one of the, do you see him sign a new contract, is what I'm saying, if he does stay?
No.
Because if he doesn't, I think that could be a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
In terms of value.
Yeah. I don't think he's signing a new contract, honestly. I agree with Joe. I don't think the real value is 18 million, like they say on Transfermarkt. But of course, you have to remember that he had a very high stake, when he had that season. So of course, he's dropping a little bit, in the next 2 seasons. After his first one in the Premier League, I think realistically, this value is around 10 million for me. Between 10 and 12 for me right now. So of course, if a French club arrive from Ligue 1, from Ligue 1 arrives and tries to sign him, I think it's time for him and for us to get a new keeper. And I think for his career, 24 years of age, he will be his second season in the Championship too. I think for his trajectory, it will be good for him to get a move too, because it's been like his 2019, 2020, he's been there since 2019, So it's like 5 seasons, I think. It's be 6 seasons next season, yeah. 6 season at least, yeah. So it's very long for a young goalkeeper to be at the same club for 6 seasons, especially with a lot of ups and downs. So for both, I think it would be good to get a move.
Yeah.
So
one thing that bothers me there, Andre, I'll be honest, is if it is right, of course, the wages of Darlow for a backup goalkeeper in the Championship, 1.5 million for a backup goalkeeper that played 4 games.
I think they thought he was going to be number 1 though, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's the difference. Yeah, I think that the wages, especially considering that when you're signing a player for the Premier League, of course, there's a huge difference because they're used to Premier League wages, and dropping down a season, you have to reward them a bit, especially with players, that have experience, that can give you experience from the Premier League. So, like Joe said, I think they signed him to be the number 1, and that's what they're saying on Capology, of course, that figure reflects that. Then in the end, Meunier ended up staying. So, of course, he will have good high wages for a backup goalkeeper. But I think at 33, no one else will, with a contract in 2026, no one else will bring him in. The only other options that you have, but I think he will stay as a backup and he will be a valuable backup, is that you have, considering 2026, you have to try to run him out if he wants to go and play, because of course he's signed to be the number 1, then Meunier stayed. But I think at 33, after a season with some injuries too that blocked him, I think he will stay next season. Of course, 100%. His value, as you can see, has massively dropped. To 300k according to Transfermarkt.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Cool.
Yeah, we can move to the defenders. Of course, as you can see, the first name is Archie Gray. I'm gonna give you some context on that. Because basically, I think that Archie, for me, of course, I put him as right back / centre mid. I think that under Farke will try to bring a different midfielder in, because we need a more box-to-box physical one, like when we tried to sign O'Reilly, And so going forward for me, Gray will be played more at the right back position for me, especially this season. If you compare how many times he plays as a centre mid, how many times he plays as the right back gets the best, in terms of comparing the games, in terms of appearances. So I think that Archie will get there,
I was thinking that. So say we were talking we'll get onto midfield, but we're talking about we need, we've already got Gruev, Kamara, and Ampadu who will be midfielders next season. You add Archie Gray into that, I'd still argue we're missing one type of midfielder, and that's that progressive number 8.
Yeah.
So is Archie that person? If he isn't, will he stay right back? What do you think, John, on that?
Yeah, listen, we got battered earlier on in the season for saying he'd be a right back, but you never know, do you? Like, obviously, we've seen what happened with Trent. Let's not forget Trent was a midfielder. He could end up playing there. You just don't know. That's maybe where Farke sees him. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Obviously, we were linked with Marius Wolf as well. So, obviously, they are looking at right backs. Alfie Gilchrist as well at Chelsea, although he's a centre-back, did play right back last season for Chelsea in the Prem as well. So they're clearly looking at that area of the pitch. That probably does mean he is going to play into midfield, go into midfield, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see. And look, we'll know more once the transfer window's upon us and shut. But the thing is as well, like, it's good that he has this versatility, right? You can be like Shackleton, and you can play loads of positions but not be great at one. Whereas you can be like Archie, who can be deployed in different positions and still be amazing in them, just because of how good he is. So wherever he plays next season, like, I'm cool with it, And we do need a progressive 8, even still. If Archie's that guy, we still need to bring one in, because I still think it's sort of criminal that in the playoff final we had no midfielders on the bench. Like, it's mad. Yeah. Especially when you consider the options they had, mate. They're bringing off like Adozi and all that sort of stuff, and other players, and we had. Who did we have? Shackleton, Byram, like, just not great. Cooper, just wasn't great, was it?
No. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing that needs to be addressed as one of the priorities, if not the priority for me. Yeah, the priority for me, because the midfield now in the modern game is where you win games, even more than the strikers. You win games in the midfield position. But going back to Archie, I think what this spreadsheet, of course, Excel, highlights is that with Christensen coming back, we only have these two at right back. So, like we said, it's a position that needs to be addressed. And Christensen, with Gray as a starter and Christensen going out, of course, of this season as a backup at Roma because he's lost his place after he barely played under Mourinho, but he tried to readapt him in a back three as the right centre back, and he failed. He played as the right wing back and he failed. What will be needed will be that we need to bring a new one in because it will be difficult for me, of course, considering also that the wages, of course, are fully paid. Is 2.5 million. The wages of Christensen will be fully paid by the acquiring club, the non club, like Roma did this season. And of course, I think that the best thing that can happen here is bringing in another right back. It can even be for me another right back from the Championship. Let's just put him a name. Like Callum Britton, an example. Even an English one, just to give you an example. Or even a player from abroad. We've seen, for example, Luton signing Ashioka. We've seen like Loki scouted before them. Coventry sign Van Ewijk from the Netherlands. I think there could be even that type of signing. With Gray starting and another reliable player like Byram, for example, was off the bench. Of course, a more young player. A proven player. Not a player that needs to prove himself, an established one. So that's why I said, for example, Britain, an example, like an English player from the Championship, that's plenty, like we've seen Ipswich go up with Harry Clark at right back. So that gives you also another example, of the fact that players needs to fit the system. It's not names, it's the way they play. And also in terms of value, everybody can agree that 18 million is not what we're asking for Archie Gray, as well as 10 million is not, I think, what we'll get for Christensen in that if someone wants to buy him. But I think
how much did we buy? How much did we buy him for now?
I think it was 12.
My God, you're not getting anywhere close to that, are you?
No, absolutely. So it's a loss. And for PMS and FFP, I don't think it will be good to sell him now. So I think the best option for us, considering also looking at the contracts, that of course Archie is from the academy, and he has a contract to 2028, while of course we signed Christensen in 2022, but he has a contract in 2027. So no way someone arrives and try to sign him. It's for me another option is the main option is of course try to loan him out to another club again. But another problem could be this. Would you not
give him a? Would you give him a chance, Andrea?
No way.
No, I just wondered. Yeah.
It was terrible at Roma.
I agree.
It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, and so of course, as you can see, 31 appearances, 1 goal and 2 assists at Roma. And he wasn't even in the list for the Europa League, so he didn't play in the Europa League too, and that says a lot. Two managers didn't rate him, Mourinho and De Rossi. Mourinho, of course, is not what he used to be, but he's a manager that.
Do we know if he got a Denmark call up?
Yeah, it was called up because I think they have some injuries in that position. So, but he won't be the starter probably. 100%, he won't be the starter.
No, definitely not. Cool.
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I drink because
pollen allergy
is a thing. Is a thing that is crippling my voice at times. So let's move to the centre backs. Of course, talking about Roma, another player coming back is Llorente. Llorente had a great season from him, honestly.
Right.
And he was a starter. I didn't expect that, but especially when they played in the back with the back three under Mourinho, he was great. One of the best defenders in Italy for me. And of course, when De Rossi arrived, they moved back to a back four. He was still good. He had some injury problems again. We know that he has some problems. He's injury prone, but he had a good season, so his value has risen. The only problem is that, let's go to the contracts. 42 appearances, 1 goal and 2 assists for Roma. So the same goal and assist as Christensen, basically. Roma have a 5 million option to buy this season, and from reports in Italy, so far it doesn't seem they will exercise that because they know our situation, so they will try to get another year on loan. We know that Roma are not a spending club. They spend only when it's worth it, and they've just spent, I think, 7 million euros for the buy option from RB Leipzig from Angelino, the one that used to play at Man City, PSV Eindhoven, and all of that. The difference is that Diego Llorente is 30 years old, So it's an older player. So 5 million, if they're not sure, and it was 18 million in 2023 to 2023, they're not sure, they'll try maybe to negotiate a lower fee. But for me right now, in terms of Llorente, because of the age, 5 million, 6 million is fair. So it's another loss for us, of course.
3 million a year as well, wages.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing, Loki. Exactly. That's the other thing that could put some clubs off this search because he has high wages. Of course they were all paid by Roma this season, but I think one scenario could be Roma trying to sign him again on loan, because again, and let's give an applause to Victor Orta for this. Before they loan him out to Roma in January 2023, they let him sign a new contract in December. A player that was injured, that was not. That was. Do
you remember the reason behind that? Because they said that they felt centre backs would be a premium in a few years' time. Like, where do you even get that from? Crazy, absolutely crazy.
And just on that, Joe, there is a premium that's at Leeds United. If you look at that there, Llorente will be gone. Yeah. We're assuming Charlie Cresswell, 7 appearances. How many starts? 1 or 2?
Yeah.
Wober, I'm assuming will go some way, shape, or form. We've got Pascal Struijk. Cooper as well, assuming will go.
Yeah, Cooper is not here because I put him in the players out of contract list, of course, but we can have a discussion about him, of course. But
that, right?
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, if you look at this, looking at the Rodon, Ampadu, of course, Ampadu, I put him in midfield, but if you look at that, the typical centre backs, you just have probably that is sure of staying Pascal Struijk, probably because of his injury, and the other ones may all go. That's the mad thing.
It's crazy.
That's it. And another thing that I put, of course, and because we're talking about centre backs, look at this. Llorente will be a right-footed centre back. Cresswell, of course, is right-footed. Struijk left, and Wöber, of course, who is likely to leave because he's going to be the starter for Austria also at the Euros. And he has had a very good season at Gladbach. Of course, I don't think, because Wöber said, I need to play. I need to be a regular to be in a top league to be playing for Austria. And in the end, he did. It was a good choice on his side. Not a good choice for us, of course, but a good choice on his side. He protected his value. He had a good season. What we're asking for him is 14 million. So that's why Transfermarkt have placed 14 million here. He has 2.1 million wages, but is worth it, because he had a very good season in Austria. He was a starter at Gladbach. He had some injury problems too. 26 years of age, left-footed. He can also play as the left centre back in a back three. So I think this one, Wöber, another, like I said, for Llorente and Christensen, again, because he has a contract in 2027. Clubs will not try to sign him on a permanent, considering that what we're asking from him is a 14.6 million pounds, reportedly asked by Leeds for a permanent move. He's had 27 appearances, 2 goals and 3 assists for Gladbach. They had a difficult season, a very ups and down season in the Bundesliga, but he was one of the best players. He even wore the armband at some point, And because he has 3 more years on his contract, I think, again, clubs will try to take him on a loan. But like Parag said, we have like 2 players still who have the loan option. And I think those 2 are Rock and Harrison. So for these 3 players, what we can do, of course, is the best option for us, considering the length of their contract, 2027 Christensen, 2026 Llorente, 2027 Wöber. We know they don't want to be here. We know they don't want to play in the Championship. They think they're better. Some of them are. Llorente and Wöber are better than the Championship. Christensen probably not. But, of course, if you want to protect the value, I think the best thing that we should do is try to loan them out again, unfortunately. Because if not, look at their wages, They have Premier League wages, 2.1, 3.4, 2.5. These are very high. These are very high. And no one will get us what we ask from them in terms of transfer value. So we have our hands tied, in a certain sense. If we don't want to keep them. They don't want to stay. So I don't want players who are not fully 100% committed at the club. That's my point of view. So I don't want them next season, honestly. I don't want them. Because the only one was likely to stay for me is Christensen because of the way he played last season with very, very poor performances. Llorente and Wöber will try to capitalize on the good season they had and try to get a move, of course. So the best thing that we can do, again, just because our hands are tied because of the length of the contract, 2026 Llorente, 2027 Wöber, and the wages of their salaries, it's loan them out again another season. That's the thing, unfortunately, Both will be, especially Wöber, because I think Llorente still struggles to adapt to English football for me. That's the difference to Italian one. Wöber will be a great player for us in the Championship. He will do very well for me. But he don't want to play in the Championship. He doesn't want to play in the Championship as well as Llorente, Christensen may want after his very bad season. Let's hope he has a good Euros campaign for Denmark so we can try to get some clever instances because so far I think he was one of the worst right backs in the whole of Serie A, and that's the thing, But to finish it up, in terms of defenders, let's talk about Charlie Cresswell too, He signed a new contract last season, contract that runs out in 2027 too, but just 7 appearances, just 7. England under 21 reserved. I placed in the 2023-2024 status. I think a discussion should be held about Charlie Cresswell because, if he's not trusted, and I think if I try to reason as the player, and his representatives, I say to myself, I have signed a new contract in 2027 last season. They maybe promised me this, they maybe promised me that. We know that I was out of the squad for technical reasons, for the manager's choice at the start of the season for many, many games. Then I went back into the mist, into contention in terms of being part of the matchday squad, but I barely played. So for my career, I'm 21 years of age. Should I stay? Again, not sure of starting, of course, because he wants to be starting. But I don't even know if I'd be a backup. I don't even know if I'd be on the bench. I had just 7 appearances this season. I just have 7 appearances this season. So if I reason like the player, I'll say, okay, I want a loan move or I want to be sold on a permanent. What do you think about this? Because the contract is he has 3 years more on his contract, and just 7 appearances. At 21 years of age, he's very, very low, He's not 18 or 17 anymore,
I think he's go for him. I think it's fair. Like you said, he is a player. He's still got potential. That doesn't disappear. He's had a bad year. He's not played, but he could. I mentioned this on Joe's yesterday. If this goes out, he could go to most Championship teams and be a starter and be a key player in their side. Even some teams in Europe, in certain leagues, he could fit in there and do a job. There'll be a lot of options to Charlie Cresswell, and he is a big part of the England under-21 side. He's always part of the squad, regardless the fact he's not playing for Leeds. They still like him there. So he'll always have that potential ceiling that teams want to see from a young player. Yeah, he's better than a reserve for us. I think he could be a starter, but maybe slightly lower, right? Or maybe again in another country, but he can be a starter, and which could really help his career and help him develop, because he's not developing, is he? Really isn't.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point.
He's stunting his growth, if anything, aren't you? He's gone out and had a loan at Millwall, played men's football, had an up and down season, come back to Leeds and probably expected to be in the starting lineup. I expected him to be. And like you've mentioned, he's played 7 times. So, and obviously him and Farke have definitely had a breakdown in communication, because Farke's mentioned in press conferences earlier on in the season when he kept getting asked about, maybe that he thinks he's better than what he is kind of vibe. That's the kind of sort of situation I took from that, in terms of, look, these people ahead of you and you need to get in line kind of thing. That obviously seemed to get resolved, or maybe just questions weren't asked anymore because everyone accepted it. But for Charlie, he needs to play. He needs to play, and he needs to play now, really. So he's either needs to be given assurances. Then again, he might not even trust the management and say, whatever they tell me, I don't believe anyway. So it wouldn't surprise me, and I think it's probably the best thing, just to protect his value as well, is to send him out on loan to another Championship club.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on
got
that.
a few years in his contract, hasn't he? So he could probably be a good loan in there this year.
Yeah.
That could help everything,
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the whole picture, because I think Pascal in the end, considering that he was injured for the majority of the second part of the season, of course, Pascal is now 24, he's not that old. He has good high wages, but I think, he did well in the Premier League before the whole chaos. He did well with Bielsa before the whole chaos of all the other managers, that changed the way he plays, I think he will stay because of his injury and the fact that he needs to play, he needs to find his rhythm, his tempo again. So I think
and he's our only centre-back. So
exactly.
The point is they're going to put a 50 million value on his head because he's all we've got. So, yeah.
Yeah, but no one is going to spend this too because of his injury. So in the end, people try to underestimate what it meant for us, because before his injury, he had 25 appearances this season and 5 goals for a centre-back. It was massive for us. This is very, very underrated. The fact that we lost Strauch, we talked about many times about the fact that Ampadu, after Strauch injury, was moved to the centre-back position and we lost a centre-mid. But we also lost a good centre-back in Strauch this season. It was massive for us. He was the captain, basically. He was the captain. And looking at the whole picture here, I think we'll need at least 3 centre-backs in the summer in terms of transfer, if we don't retain Cooper, of course. But, Llorente not sure of staying. Cresswell, I think he needs to get a loan. Stark will stay. Wöber, I think he'll leave. Probably alone too, So I think we'll need at least 3 centre-backs for me. And let's move to the left-back position. I think another position that we will need certainly a player because we just have one,
left-back's position.
Yeah, our it won't be Leeds if we didn't have a lack of left-backs, In the end, you just have Junior Firpo as the left-back for next season under contract, 27 years of age now. Started, of course. He pushed back, after a difficult start to English football under Farke, because with this formation, he just has to focus on the offensive duties and let a little more on defensive ones. According to Capology, of course, 3.1. Let's remember he played for Betis and Barcelona. We signed him from Barcelona, so you can see where that comes from, The current value for transfer money is 5 million. I think it's fair, honestly. Between 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Lockie?
Yeah,
it's fair. Yeah.
And again, you've got to look at it from our perspective. Again, he's our only left back. We're not just going to get rid of a left back. The only one we've got that's been good this season for pennies, are we? We're going to make that a difficult negotiation if there is one, definitely. On your contract, do you guys think he stays this season?
I don't think so.
Oh, honestly. You don't?
No?
I think he will.
No.
I think he will.
No, I think on a either we we negotiate a new contract for him because his contract is coming up next summer, or either we sell him. For me, it's a crossroad. We are at a crossroad with Firpo, because with this contract coming up, we are risking if we keep him to lose him on a free, and I think he'll leave. Yeah. So you either reward him after his good performances this season with a new contract, but then again, you have to wonder if the player wants a player that used to play for Barcelona. He was a regular for Spain under 21. He won in 2019 the European Championship under 21s here in Italy with Spain. Then, of course, his career had a little change when he moved to England because he was not a regular anymore. He struggled with injuries. He lost the possibility that he had when he was at Betis and Barcelona to get into the Spanish squad. And he even changed his nationality, switched back to the Dominican Republic. So he either wants to challenge after this good season and capitalize on that, and say, okay, I had a good season. I want to my contract is up next summer. I want to go back to La Liga because I had a good season. I am 27 years of age. I'll probably sign a 3 years contract like they all do, you know. So my contract will run until I'm 30 years of age. So it will be the final the final contract between my real final one, you know, my older one. It's the penultimate big contract of his life.
Yeah.
So you either reward him with a new one or you either sell him because he will have offers, of course. He had a good season, 33 appearances, 8 assists, you know. He managed to stay fit without getting injuries towards the second part of the season, of course. So again, let's remind ourselves that before he signed, he was a player with his career going on the up. Because at Betis, he was one of the best full left backs in La Liga for me. He really was, under Quique Setién at Betis. Then he moved to Barcelona. Of course, he was a backup there. He was not a starter. So he wanted to play more, went to England, had some injuries, lost his place, his possibility to get into the Spanish squad, you know. And then 3 years after he was at Barcelona, playing in the Champions League and all of that, a very, very big club, he finds himself in the Championship. So the aspiration for a player is, I'm still 27, I want to get back to the top leagues. So I think he may leave if offers come from La Liga. And then again, crossroads for us. Do we accept them? Try to negotiate for a higher fee? If we want to keep him, let's give him a new contract. That's the crossroad for me, you know.
Yeah. No, that's fair, mate. That's fair.
Okay, then we can move to the midfielders. Of course, here again, we have under contract Ampadu, Grujev, Roca. I put Charlie Crew in there, you know, 17 years of age. It was with the under-21s, but a regular on the bench last season. Being called up now by Wells for the friendlies this month, of course, at 17 years of age. So for play to him. Then we have Kamara and Darko JB, who was, of course, sidelined recently after his loan at Plymouth was cut short after his injury. Before going into the singular players, I think there's a thing that everyone can agree on, you know. We have 2 DMs, Ampadu and Grujev. Ampadu should be the starter and Grujev the backup for me.
Yeah, for sure.
That should be a certainty. Then again, we're missing 2 players there for me because Kamara could be a good rotation, a good option from out of the bench in terms of all-around 8, not a box-to-box 8 because he isn't for me. He is an all-around 8 because he's very good in, you know, helping the players when we're stuck in a certain situation. He's like a link-up player, you know. I think he's very good when he's on a good run of form to read the game about where he needs to be in terms of positioning. But what we're missing for me is a box-to-box number 8 and a physical player in there. We need a physical player too, capable of playing either in the 6 or in the 8. Like, for example, the type of player is not the player that I want, but for an example, Waterberger of Stoke City, for example, a unit.
Yeah.
You know, like Anderson of QPR, like another example, you know, could be like Matt O'Reilly that we wanted to take.
McLean, maybe Kenny McLean, someone like that.
Yeah, Kenny McLean, another example. Of course, O'Reilly is out of reach now after this season, but definitely. That was the type of player that I wanted also last summer because in the end you have Ampadu and Grujev, both signed, of course, last summer, and they both have a long contract, you know, 2027. Let's go to the appearances too. 2027, you have Mark Roca coming back. And we know that probably there's also the option for Roca to, not just 2026, his contract runs out, but he has the option to extend it. I don't think he will, probably. Reportedly, Betis have a 10 million option to buy, but they won't probably exercise it because...
I think he can go back out on loan anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. There's also the option to get back on loan, so it makes sense for Betis not to pay this fee, but just get him on loan again, you know. It was a starter there. Yeah,
Andrea. Oh, sorry.
No, go.
I was going to say about midfield, just looking at that, because honestly, it'll go out my brain. I have to say it straight away. I think we're fairly solid in that position. You look at defence, it's a worry, right? Because we're losing a lot of centre-backs and we don't have any. Especially that 6th position. Ampadu, Grujev, nice. Kamara in there, solid player. crew coming through can develop, maybe even potential for a loan. I don't know. We'll see what minutes he gets, see what minutes he's promised. You know, like, I think, yeah, like you said, there's only one clear thing for me, and that is that 8. You know, that's it. I think with defence, it's a worry goalkeeper, even to an extent, even looking forward if we lose both our wingers. But I think midfield, as a solid base, we actually have quite a good base. I think that's fair to say as well.
Yeah.
So the players like Darko JB could go back out on loan. Rocket could go. That's fine because we have those type of players.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Completely. Very, very good point that you make. Because
let's save it though. We're gonna do. We've got a video coming tomorrow, but based on this, what we need to save them positions, man. Keep them guessing, Lockie. Keep them guessing.
Yeah. So without further ado, I think about Crew. Just one thing, because Lockie was good in mentioning him. I think another thing, like I said with Firpo, is his contract. The one that he signed when the youth one, basically the one he signed when he was still playing, and he's still playing for the under-21s and the youth teams. Of course, the contract runs out in 2025. So this summer, I think he will sign a new contract, like for example, Archie Gray did.
Yeah.
So committing long term to Leeds, and then we can start talking about the loan option, the keeping him at Leeds. But of course, he's very highly rated because 17 years of age already in the Wales national team for the first time. So for play to him with that. Yeah. So after this, I think we've talked long enough about the midfielders. Let's move to the forwards, basically. As you can see here is a little bit, this is the wingers / advanced midfielder, attacking midfielders department, So this is the thing, the positions. These are the positions where I think the transfer discussions will be more heated. I think this summer, because if you look at that for next season, we have plenty of players, we in those positions. We have, for example, right wing Nyonto and James, number 10 attacking midfielder. You have Rotter, Aronson coming back. Greenwood will probably go because Borough have a 1.5 option to buy.
I don't think they're not exercising that though, are they?
Not exercising that.
No. He barely played towards the end. He's coming back, mate. So
yeah, because he lost it for a little bit, but before that, he was pretty good for them. So I thought they will have exercised that, honestly. So if they're not exercising it, we have Greenwood too.
Yeah.
And then we have Gallard, of course. And in terms of left wingers, you have Somerville and Harrison Wells, of course, another option apparently to go on loan again, So I think here again, the main topics are Nyonto, Rotter, and Somerville. Absolutely 100%. You can even take a look at the wages, of course. Somerville, apparently, because it's his old contract, he hasn't signed a new one. So apparently he has lower wages compared to Rotter and Nyonto, basically. Because Rotter and Nyonto arrive at Leeds later on, because Nyonto signed for Leeds in 2022, Rotter in 2023, and Somerville in 2020. So with his contract, and you can see that with his contract, his contract runs out on Somerville in 2026, Rotter in 2028, and Nyonto in 2027, So, of course, these are the main discussion topics for me, especially Somerville and Nyonto are the more likely to leave for me. I don't know what you think, but these two are the most likely to.
They're gone, yeah. I've not even been thinking about them as options, mate, at all. They're definitely gone, yeah.
I think they're both gone. I really do. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think we'll get good value for them, which will help us massively in many ways. Obviously, in the Championship, we need to raise that money. Them two alone could bring in. I don't know how much. I'm not a financial expert, but good money. Jorginho's one. I genuinely believe he'll stay. But again, we'll get into that stuff. But Dan James as well. Yeah, he's staying. It's weird how many wingers we had, and now again we're short if we lose two. So a lot of investment needs to come to this squad.
Yeah,
definitely.
Massive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so Somerville money, just Somerville himself, the money we get from that and Nonto will help. The entire squad. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you take Somerville out, you bring in a winger that can help feed through the entire squad. The money you get for Somerville.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think if that happens, like I said, we have done James probably. He stay. I'm sure he stays. Then you have to bring in at least, for me, 3 wingers, because you'll have James, and we see that later on. You have James on the right, and then of course you don't have Anthony anymore on the left too as a backup. Harrison will go out on loan again probably, so you have to bring in 2 left wingers and another right winger. So this.
I was just going to mention Josh McDonald, who plays for the 18s. So obviously I'm not putting much pressure. He's 17, 18 years old, but I've been watching this season, and his play style is so similar to Somerville, like very similar in both the frustrations of holding on to the ball and the quality. And he joined from Hamilton Academical, that's how to say. Last year, this time last year, and he played for the 18s this year, and he signed a pro contract a few days ago, the middle of March. So from a year from joining the under 18s to then signing a pro contract, I think he's a player that the club really like. So he could be one that kind of has that career role this year where he kind of just seeps it onto the bench every now and again. Maybe in cup games we'll see him. I think that's one we could look at. Obviously, you're not going to rely on this. He's a young lad. It could take 3 or 4 years to get first in football yet, but definitely just a name there that might just slowly peter into the side in cup games and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've seen also in the past, with Archie Gray, I think the young players also know that there's a possibility to get into the side if they play well, because Farke, of course, gave trust to a 17-year-old Archie Gray, and he performed. So why others cannot do it? They can do it, honestly, if they manage to impress the manager. I think just looking at the academy products, of course, Gellert moved from Wigan to our academy, but there's certainly, of course, even Greenwood from Arsenal, but I think another discussion point, of course, should be Gellert, who has a contract in 2027, but just 13 appearances and 1 goal. And Greenwood, like Joe said, of course, if they're not exercising it, the 2 top key points will be, for me, Gellert should get a loan or a permanent, of course, but I don't think there will be a loan will be more likely, And the other discussion point would be after his performances at Boro, 38 appearances, 5 goals and 3 assists. Of course, like Joe said, he lost his place towards the end of the season because also of injuries. Would you keep Greenwood for the number 10 spot? Of course, he played also more on the left at Boro in certain games. And the other discussion point too, of course, for the number 10 is, can we consider Aronson in that position? Because I think the only way Aronson can adapt to English football is if you play like Bayer Leverkusen do with Florian Wirtz, in that way.
Yeah, so it's interesting with Aronson, isn't it? I mentioned this before, mate. And this might be, you might completely disagree, but I take emotion aside and the situation with the loans and all that stuff. If he was willing to, and again, you have to think about that, is he willing to take that step down and humble himself a bit and say, look, you might have to have your season in the Championship. Here's Somerville, here's an example of how it can help your career. If he does that, I genuinely believe he's a role in this side at this level. I do. I know he struggled a lot in the Bundesliga, but again, I've watched a few of his last games where I believe he improved. And honestly, mate, I was watching some of them. I'm going, he looks good. He did look good. And I just think, as a player in this side, again, I don't think he'll want to. Let me clarify, I really don't. I think he could have a role in this team. Is that wrong? Is that naive? I don't know. What do you think?
It's not naive for me, honestly. I think there's the only possibility, of adapting into the number 10 position. But again, it will be very, very difficult because if you look in terms of environment, I think, because if you look at all the players that, went away on loan last season after the relegation, and also, the fact of McKennie, for example, what happened with McKennie, the atmosphere was very, very toxic. They played very, very bad. They didn't have an impact. And I think Aronson was one of the players that faced the major criticism, So it will be, of course, taking the emotional side of it, outside the context and all the environment and atmosphere they will be facing if they decide to stay. Absolutely. I think, like I said, I think there's a path for Aronson in this team, honestly, because the Bundesliga is very, pacey. He struggles. The only problem is that he struggles with physicality. He struggles in physical leagues. So that's the thing for me. He needs to grow muscle, But if you try to play him like in a free number 10 role, like Bayer Leverkusen do with Wirtz, that is a path for him, for me. Yeah. That is a possibility.
When you say, like, obviously it's a skinny guy myself, when building muscle, it's kind of, I use Somerville as an example, who hasn't, he's not massive and he never will be. That's the way he is. That's his body shape. But you can look at him now and look at him last season. He is a little bigger. He's not massive, but you can tell he's a little stronger. And on the ball, he's used his body better. He's stronger in tackles and stuff. So that conditioning is important in the Premier League and in the Championship, to be honest, because we take that stuff seriously in this country. So, yeah. But then with Brendan coming in, I think that then means Sam Greenwood if Brendan came in, would be further down the pecking order. We've got to be careful, haven't we? Because we do that thing where if they're not first team, we go, yeah, they can go. But we've done that for a lot of them. We suddenly have no players left.
Mate, we've got back. I think we'll struggle to have an 11 at this stage.
That's the issue.
No, there's an 11 after this, down in this sheet, in this spreadsheet, because after we discussed, of course, the other problem are the forwards, of course, because you have Bamford now, who is a rotation player now at best, with 30 years of age. Of course, he had a good period in this season, but after that, he was plagued again by injuries, high wages too. So Pirot, of course, that hasn't really fit the system. Again, here I play striker / attacking midfielder, but I really don't think he's an attacking midfielder. I placed this because I played him in the number 10. Then you just have Joseph, basically, because Perkins, we know that, especially with his contract coming up in next summer, 2025, I think that we will loan him out again and until his contract runs out again. Again, a masterclass by Victor Orta, again, promising certain players like Bate and all of them to be part of the squad. And when those players don't have opportunities to go out on loan earlier, like they should have, they were put straight into the midst. Imagine Bate against Chelsea, for example, and then we judge them just basically on 2, 3, or 4 appearances. They go out on loan, having lost confidence, like Gellert at Sunderland, and they are stuck at Leeds until their contract runs out. That's basically what is happening here. But again, 5 just for players. So we need, for me, considering that Bamford will stay, Pirot will stay, and Joseph will stay, I don't think that either of these 3 should be the starting number 9. I think Joseph should be the backup. I really don't rate Pirot, honestly, in terms of playing in the number 9. I think Joseph could be the backup, but also can be played in the number 10, like a second striker / number 10 attacking midfielder, because I think he is very versatile in that position. So I will try to bring in a new number 9, a prolific one, honestly, and that's it, because all 3 also, of course, Joseph is a very young player, but Pirot and Bamford 2026, Bamford 2027, Pirot. If you look at the figures, because in the end, apart from the performances, that's what they're judged on, Bamford 36 appearances, 9 goals, because he had a good period, despite these injuries, 2 assists. Pirot, 7 appearances at Swansea, 2 goals, and then 49 appearances, 14 goals, and 3 assists for Leeds, Joseph, 26 appearances in the end, I thought they were lower, honestly. I thought they were lower because all of them, are like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, very, very few minutes compared to the contribution that he could have made, And that the picture that you have of this is the playoff final, because Eddie being subbed on earlier, honestly, I think that the game could have had, considering that Pirot was non-existent, could have had a different trajectory, But yeah, overall, I agree that for me, 1, if we keep Pirot, of course, and I think we'll keep him despite him not fitting the system, I think we'll need another starting striker for me, a prolific one. If you want to add something about the strikers, lads, if not, we move towards the end of the list,
Yeah, I just think, just looking at that, because I totally forgot about Sonny Perkins. it's going to be interesting. It wouldn't surprise me if all three, Bamford, Pirro and Joseph, are still here next season with the new number 9 coming in potentially. But with Sonny Perkins, it will be interesting to see what happens because, again, like we spoke yesterday on yesterday's video on Spence, for example, he's clearly got potential. You don't break through at a Premier League club like West Ham and get minutes in the Europa League and stuff if you're a bad player. He's been capped at England international youth level. So there's clearly a player in there. West Ham were unhappy when they lost him to Leeds. So I want to see him get his head down and knuckle down. And who knows? Like, he could be, a hidden gem, if you like, going into next season. An option. A bit like I'm not comparing them two in terms of where they're at, but obviously Charlie Crew. None of us really thought about Charlie Crew until really got me anyway. I knew about him, but then when I see him got called up to Wales squad the other day, I'm going, oh, hang on a minute, he could be an option for next season. I'd totally forgot about Sonny Perkins. If he has a good pre-season, who knows? Do you know what I mean? So I hope he does that, because these footballers, you'd give your right arm to be in their position. Any of us would. So it's like, make sure you fulfill your potential and don't fucking waste it,
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree, yeah. Agree with that.
Yeah. So also another thing.
Just quickly, Like, I'm looking at the goals there, mate. That's good. 9 goals, 14 goals is decent. You want 30 goals there, don't we?
Yeah.
You want Smodic's numbers, don't you? You want Smodic's numbers, Adam Armstrong numbers. Yeah, we need that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see that later because I think if you look at the numbers, these numbers, of course, collectively are fine. But if you look also at the depth compared to our depth that Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton had in these positions, they were far better than us. Far better than us, And another thing that we should talk about, of course, is the players out of contract this summer. These are the main, problems for me in terms of what we're losing in terms of experience, because you lose Dallas, who was at Leeds in 2015. You lose Cooper probably from 2014. These two players are respected leaders of the dressing room. In the end, we're not losing a starter, because Cooper was a backup. Byram was a backup. He played a lot of games though this season, because 37 appearances, 2 goals and 2 assists. I think that this is enough to reward him with a new contract, honestly, looking at this contribution, of course. He doesn't even have a nice salary, compared to other players. Of course, Shackleton, Bate, and I put also Mandenovel there because he was like the third choice when Dallo was injured. I don't think they will say, because Shackleton has been a reserve, just 15 appearances and 1 assist, but those 15 appearances are like most of them at the start of the season and like 5 or 10 minutes, towards the end of the game. And Bate, I think he did well with the club from Milton Keynes, I don't want to call them Dons. That's why. So I think League One, probably he will try to sign a permanent, not a permanent, sign for a new club this summer in League One or especially League One for me. Yeah.
I think Bate it could go to Lincoln with Scubala. I think that'd be a great little move for him, because he obviously worked under him at 21s and he liked him. So that could be a place for him. Out of them, for me, I think like Byram deserves another year, definitely. We need him. We need those squad players. It's huge. I think that's the only one there that'll stay, I think. Yeah,
especially because Lucky again, right back / left back. As we saw, we just have Gray and Firpo in this position. So you need to try to build something, with players that already know the place there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
Then we move to the 3 players that already signed for a new club. Ayling, of course, for Borough. Just want to highlight this, I'm very happy for him that after he moved from us, went to Borough, 19 appearances, 8 assists, so for playbill, absolutely, we're all happy for him, thank him for the contribution at the other Leeds. Another thing with these numbers, of course, is unfortunately Robin Koch, 42 appearances, 4 goals and 2 assists with Eintracht, one of the best centre-back this season in the Bundesliga, unfortunately, and it's a free transfer, so we don't recoup any money from what we spent on him. and is being called up by Germany for the Euros. So again, another masterclass with that long clause because
fuck Robin Koch. I hate him.
I was looking at when I was doing my dossier for uni, when I was looking for players we should sign in the Premier League, I was doing like the statistical stuff on Wyscout.
Did he come up
in Europe's top 5 league, and Robbie Cox at the top of all of them? Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And
the other player that will leave, I don't think we need to spend more words about him because otherwise he will get his legal team into with us, in touch with us. The player that wanting to leave and threaten leg and action like Tyler Adams to move to Bournemouth, of course. I loved him as a player, but I don't think the way he left was good. Compared to the opportunity that the Leeds gave in the Premier League, considering that he moved from Feyenoord, a great club, but he moved still from the Eredivisie to the Premier League this season, as you saw.
He'd have been a joke in this league, He'd have been an absolute joke, man. It'd have been a cheat code, more so than Somerville, man, if he'd have stayed fit. And I know Leeds fans will be watching it going, nah, but that's just sour grapes. If we actually take the emotion out of it, Sinistera would have ripped up this division, like...
Yeah, absolutely. At least, lads, we got 20 millions from.
Yes, exactly.
So, at least some money compared to Koch that we got zero money for him. So that's it, Then the last three, of course, that we need to talk about are the 3 loanees. So
can I ask you a question just on Connor Roberts?
Go on. Yeah.
I still keep seeing people wanting him back, and my answer is why? Because he didn't do no. I'm sorry. I think people are more tied into him as a person as to what he did on the pitch. Like, I did a reaction to Alfie Gilchrist links, and people are telling me, why don't we just someone actually said, let Burnley, if Frank Lampard goes to Burnley, they can have Alfie Gilchrist, and then we can take Connor Roberts off them. And I'm like, why? You would want Alfie Gilchrist over Connor Roberts? Like, I don't understand the massive infatuation that people have got with Connor Roberts. Is it just because he gets it? He's one at lads. I don't know. I genuinely weren't overly impressed.
I think I love him as a player, honestly, but I think with the injury that he had during the international break, that blocked, his possibility of being the starter with moving Gray back to midfield. Honestly, that's the other thing. He never had the continuity, the consistency to show what he is capable of in a Leeds shirt, honestly. So I don't think we've seen the real Connor Roberts, honestly. But I don't think he'll be back because, of course, his contract expires next season with Burnley.
I'm just going to take the moment as well to again ran home the fact that I backed Archie at right back because he's seen off Jed Spence, he's seen off Sam Byram, he's seen off Connor Roberts, he's seen them all off, man. Hey. He's seen them all off.
He's doing his thing, innit?
Yeah, man.
He's doing his thing.
The thing, lads, for Rodon and Roberts, especially we're talking about Roberts, 2025 Burnley, so I think either they reward him with a new contract, and I think they will, honestly, because he's a proven player at championship level. But if they're looking to sell him, they won't sell to the direct rival, absolutely.
No.
And also Rodon, his contract is up next summer at Spurs. No chance he gets into that side. So again, I think he'll move on a permanent this summer to a lower Premier League club. If they're not.
He's coming Leeds, man. He's coming Leeds.
If that's not the case, I think we have we have an opportunity, yes, to try to get him. 15 appearances. I think one of the most capped players this season for a league club, honestly. So absolutely Rolls Royce of a player. He was under only 500k this season too. So yeah, compared to what he brought to the team, he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So coming towards the end, here we have a little bit of a possible starting 11, in terms of squad depth.
Not many greens, Andrea.
Yeah, the greens are the ones that for me, and I have to be the starters in that position next season. Sorry. So I only keep as starters Strauch, Ampadu, James, Rotter, and Gray. I've placed Onyonto, Melie, Firpo, and Samuel in the orange because I think these are the players that may leave.
Yeah.
The pink ones are the players that were on loan last season. So these are the ones that may go out again on loan, or be sold. What am I
think there's a case for Rutter moving out of the 10 and getting a 10 and maybe utilising him out wide. I think that's the case. I'd have no problems with seeing Rutter pop up on the left or the right. You could, and it's same for James. They can interchange, can't they? Them two on either side, really. James's good work in the playoff final came more so off the left, didn't it? Really. So he can play on either side, as can Rutter. Get us a new number 10. Get us a box-to-box 8. Well, listen, we're dipping into tomorrow's video, aren't we? But yeah, like this, look at there, it doesn't look great, but few key signings. Use more of the youth potentially with the likes of Crew and Jarby. Then we'll be all right, man. Listen, that squad there still dicks over the rest of this league.
Still a great squad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as well, we've got to look at Mateo as well. If he develops the way we
100%.
think he goes, that could be a goal scorer in the Championship next season if he gets that chance. So
Yeah.
And we'll get a lot of money for Nanto, Somerville for this level. Maybe a few others in there, Rocker, Werber, whatever. So.
Yeah, clearly the centre backs, the number 8, the wingers. I think work is needed everywhere basically. For me, more in the 8, of course, and the centre backs especially, and the striker for me, and the 10. Work all around. This was us basically this season. So as you can see, like Joe pointed out, number 6, I only put the players in their main position. The position they play more games under. So Ampere and Grujev, okay, we were right here, Then you had Strauch and Cooper, Rodon and Cresswell. So of course, Farke didn't trust Cresswell and Cooper after Watford. So we were basically forced when Strauch got injured to move Ampadu here on Strauch. And I think we were pretty all right, honestly, with fullbacks towards the end, We were right, but the main focus was that we were playing with Kamara in the 8. He's not a progressive player in terms of box to box, and just Shackleton as the backup, in the end, and again in the 10 too, because we had Rotter and just Gallard probably that could play there. We were all right on the wingers, Nyonton, James, Somerville, and Anthony, but just Rotter and Gallard. And this is what I want to highlight, lads. Hero, Bamford, and Joseph. Let's go down. Leicester squad depth. Maresca, 43.
Crazy. Look at that.
As you can see, Vardy, Iheanacho, Daka, Cannon.
Yeah.
Then you have in the 8, Ndidi and Akgun that also can play on the wing, of course. Dewsbury-Hall and McAteer. McAteer can play also.
They even had Kazadei for 6 months as well.
Yeah, exactly. Kazadei too for 6 months. Then you have in the 6, Winks and Pride. Pride can play also in the 8. On back there, you have Pereira and Chuduri. Chuduri can play also in the 8 and the 6. Then you have, of course, these are the right-footed centre-back, but you have Faes, Cody, Nelson, and Suter. And just Vestergaard as a left-footed centre-back, And also Doyle can play as a centre-back. So, as you can see, it's very, very deep in terms of players all around, because they have Justin and Doyle. Justin can play also on the right, of course. It was very... they adapt, They adapt. And also Ipswich, people... I think they underrate what they did. But if you look at them all around, with 4-2-3-1 of McKenna, they
Strikers.
have... Moore, Al-Ahmadi, and Hurst. Then you had, of course, Sarmiento, Broadhead, and Harness, Chaplin and Aluko, Hutchinson and Jackson, and all of them, especially Hutchinson, and also Sarmiento can play in the 10. So you change the players, but the mentality, the idea remains. And also look at the depth in midfield, In the number 8, Luongo, Burns he also played a lot also on the right wing, but recently played also like a free roaming player in the 8, Jack Taylor. Sam Morsi, Luis Travis, and Dominic Paul, And also, Wolfendy, Edmundson, Twanzebi too here, and Burgess has the only left-footed centre-back, Clark and Donatian. Donatian, of course, barely played, but if you look at this, they had Clark and then Williams. Williams can play also on the right. But the main thing is look at the strikers and the number 8 and midfield. I think that's where we lost, the promotional race in midfield. In the end. Also, of course, Southampton, they were very light here. Just 3. Bednarek, Stevens, and Alfred Bellis, just 3. But look at the depth in midfield, lads. Downs, Charles,
players, all of them.
Yeah. that's the main difference with our squad, because we had Kamara, Shackleton, Ampadu, and Gruyev as typical midfielders, as number 8 and 6.
Yeah.
Typical one. They had Downs and Charles, Smallbone and Stuart Armstrong, Aribon and Rothwell, Then on the wings, they had Edozie and Brooks, Fraser and Suleiman, then they had this Amo Ameya and Dibling, the youngsters,
Do you know that midfield as well? There's genuinely a conversation to be had that at least 4 of them get straight into our 11.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main difference, lads.
Yeah, maybe even 5 with Stuart Armstrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And also the strikers. Also the strikers, because Armstrong can play also on the wing. He's very adaptable, but they had Adam Armstrong, Che Adams, Sek Kumaro, and Ross Stewart.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at that 4 there. Again, look at the strikers. Apart from maybe Mara, who obviously has got high potential, but has not played that great. Stewart, Adams, Armstrong start up front for us.
Yeah, and of course, going back, Piroban for Joseph, Kamara, Shackleton, Rotter Gellert. That's where we lost the promotion race for me.
Yeah, 100%.
That's my thought. That's my thought.
And that there is gonna lead us into nicely over the next 2 days, because we're gonna look and we're gonna have a conversation, folks, about what Leeds United need from a playing perspective next season, and then finish that up with what must Farke change going into next season to ensure promotion this time around. Andrea, anything more you want to share on there at all, or?
No, that's it. I think we can talk more about in detail about what
100%.
we need in certain position. Of course, you can already have a peek and build your opinions, and send you and tap your what you think we need in the 100%. Chat, of course. Looking at this, but
put it in the comments. Actually,
yeah, exactly.
Knowing what you know now, having gone through this, and listen, it was a long, in-depth video, and big up to Andrea for taking the time to actually do that. What a legend. Thank you for that. We want to know from you which players or which areas of the pitch that we need to improve, so that when we go back and check it and watch it live and get involved, then we can obviously see what people have come up with. But yeah, listen, Andrea, once again, mate, thank you so much for doing that. And listen, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Check out Lucky Leeds. Check out Andrea on Twitter, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out. Leeds!